my name's Michael Strand and I work for the wildlife trusts in Wales.
Great. And 3 or 4 months ago, you started the Major Gifts Mastery program with us, and you kindly shared with the rest of the group various bits of progress you've been making so far. Um, what's it been like overall for you to join this program?
Yeah, well, I find it hugely rewarding and it's been a very sort of practical course where each session I've non-stop been adding notes as we've been going through, but notes that I've actually actioned that sort of following week and sort of fundamentally changed the way that I've approached fundraising with major donors. So it's been terrific.
Great. And you gave one example the other day. I wonder if you'd be willing to share one or two examples of how in real terms it's made a difference to results and momentum.
Yeah, certainly. So I'd been in the role. It's a brand new role. I'd been in the role for about 3 months, and we'd had the first session, which as I say, I found pretty useful. And I went back and was starting to action that, but I felt a bit stuck because I'd been reaching out to contacts, but I hadn't been getting any responses. And although I do have people that can support me in my role, like a lot of us, we are trying to sort of, but plow our own furrow, so to speak. And I was finding I was getting a bit stuck. So the second session came along, and this unlocked a whole load of doors for me. It was a really positive session, and I suddenly realised from that, I think one of the messages that came out loud and clear from you and from the group that giving is good for all of us, right? We did that table exercise that you instigated, and then we actually got up and we went with partners, and we all got energized to share one of the examples of where giving for good for people in our lives had really resonated. And I remember myself and my partner, we got so involved with it, we both ended up bursting into tears and giving each other a hug. Such was the power of it. And I took that back with me, and I realized that actually I just needed to shift my emphasis. I needed to start consolidating day to day where my priorities were. So I put in the morning in my calendar for the first hour that I would be reaching out and trying to get those test drives that you talked about, trying to get those contacts. But I also I found ways in which to reach out to people using a different medium. Um, and I ended up calling people in the end. But I called people with a purpose. I found the reason. I found those good, those positive stories. So I was going through my process of going back through these folk, and I called up this one individual, and I knew that they had donated not just to the trust but to other environmental causes before. And when they picked the phone up, they called. They said, "Oh, hello, Alice," and I said, "Oh, I'm not Alice. Sorry, this is Michael Strand here from the Wildlife Trusts." And they said, "Oh, I was expecting a call from my daughter. You're very lucky because I don't normally answer calls from numbers I don't recognize." So I introduced myself, explained what I was doing, and they had time and they were very open to share what their motivations were around their previous support. And one thing led to another, and I said, would they be interested in finding out some of the information of some of the work that I was doing in Wales, which they said yes. So I gathered my thoughts, went back to your notes, and I thought, well, you mentioned about stacking the problem. I had this one project that was going to coming up that had a time limit on it. I thought, well, I can't just send this because it was for quite a lot of money. It was for a six-figure sum. And it was my first conversation with this person. So I put in two other projects that were similar based on their needs of different scales of support.
Mm-hmm.
Sent it through, didn't hear from them, went past the deadline of this particular one. I thought, well, I'm not going to give up because of what I'd picked up from the course. So I gave it another week and I called them back, still no answer. Gave it another day, called them back again and got hold of them. They said, "Oh, really sorry that I hadn't answered your message. I said, it's fine. It's just there was a time limit on one of these things, blah, blah, blah. They said, I'll have a look at it today. So I got on with my daily work, carried on with my process. 3:30 came, call went, answered it. There was the donor. Said, yeah, I had a look at it. Yeah, I'd love to support that. I was like, wow, because this was my first response in this role. I said, which one took your interest? Thinking that they would take a slice of, hopefully take a slice of one of them. They said, well, all of them. I like all of them. I'll donate to all of them. And not just donate some to all of them, but donate everything, the entire package together. And I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. I was sort of a little bit dumbstruck, and I had to gather my professional self and thank them and do all those practical next steps. And so I thought, wow, this is an amazing one-off experience. This is like a career defining moment I will probably live with me forever, because it was a six-figure sum, a high six-figure sum. And so I thought, right, I need to go and let the charities that I support in Wales, the wildlife trusts that I kind of my clients in Wales know. And one particular wildlife trust who had been very strong at advocating for my role over these last sort of year and a half. I spoke to an individual there who's been very supportive since I've been in this role. And they were sitting there, and I said, look, I've got to speak to you. He came up on Teams. He was in one of these wheelie chairs, and I said, this is what's happened. And as I delivered the news, his hands went to his face, covered his eyes, his mouth and his nose. And he literally, I thought he was going to keel over backwards on this wheelie chair and do himself a mischief. It was such a powerful moment.
That's amazing. But it really does make an extraordinary difference to these hardworking people on the ground and these projects that are make or break. I get why he was so moved.
Absolutely. To deliver essentially by this is going to be help three wildlife trusts create three brand new nature reserves for everybody forever, you know, um, and it's such a powerful message that, it's not unsurprising that when this kind of gift comes in, that it ripple effects through the organizations.
Hmm. Well, huge congratulations, Michael. It's one thing to be in the sessions and enjoy learning. It's another to really follow through and take action, which you've clearly been doing. It's brilliant. Uh, Maybe we should finish soon, but if someone was weighing up whether to take a chance and invest their some charity budget in coming on Major Gifts Mastery, what would you say?
I would say it's a definite yes, Rob. I think, on the many training courses I've been on over my career, that, if I come away with one, two, or three little nuggets, that's a good course. But, I've got pages. I've got pages of stuff that I've made notes of, and I'm sharing with people on a regular basis. I know that will come in handy, you know, at those periodic times as a fundraiser when you suddenly find yourself, oh, what do I do? Like, what's next? And I'll always be able to go back to those, and they will help unlock the next step. So
Mm.
thank you.
You're very welcome. It's been a real joy to work with you, and the course isn't over yet. So looking forward to the next session. Thanks for making time to chat, Michael. I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Rob.